What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of my playthrough of Dynamite Dunes and Rollercoaster Tycoon Classic. I'm going to be doing playthroughs of all of the Rollercoaster Tycoon Classic scenarios and try and, make them a little bit aesthetically pleasing. If you didn't see the last episode, I'll leave a link to part 1 in the description. But basically the whole thing here was I'm trying to just keep building rides, and the way I'm separating these parts out is based on year. So the first episode was year 1, this one will be year 2, and hopefully by the end of year 3 I will have passed the goal. Right now I'm sitting at 280, around 280 guests, and I need 700 by the end of year 3, so hopefully I can get that done. As long as I keep building rides, I should be okay. But yeah, so right now I'm building a mini roller coaster. Personally, not a fan of mini roller coasters. I think they're garbage because they just lose speed too fast, and it's one of those coaster types it's really hard to actually get the stats that you want out of it. Like, it'll either be 10 intensity or 2 intensity, and it's really hard to get it right in the middle of where you want it to be. So I had a bunch of trouble with that. This one I actually made was way too intense, so I had to just scrap it and do something else. And the only reason I left it in was because I thought, you know what, this is part of the experience of Rollercoaster Tycoon, because I'm an artist. And so I scrapped that, and I actually, while I was building it, I got a corkscrew coaster in as part of my research budget. So I was able to get a corkscrew coaster that was not terrible, and so I went ahead and built that, and that one's gonna hopefully make me a good amount of money while I'm playing this scenario. The one thing I'm starting to run into is that all of my guests are running out of money. Like, they're willing to pay the amount of money for all my rides, but they're running out of cash, and they're kind of like, and so I'm having people leave the park, which I think that's okay, if I'm not mistaken. In the mechanics of the game is that if people run out of cash, then they'll leave the park, but it spawns another guest to take their place as long as your park rating is high enough. And my park rating has stabilized somewhere around 900, I think. It's pretty high. You can see up there. The only issue I'm having is, just the classic vomit thing. Towards the end of this episode, I actually organized all my handymen. I actually zoned them to certain areas of the park, which typically works when I play this game. So hopefully that'll work. I have 4 handymen, and it's a pretty small park right now. So hopefully that'll be good enough to for them to handle. And I think I have 3 mechanics for about 8 or 9 rides. And since they're in close proximity to each other, that should be okay. I might hire 1 extra mechanic next episode, just because it's a lot of rides, and I've set all my, I had to manually set all of my inspections to 10 minutes, just because I was having a lot of rides breaking down all at once. So I wanted to make sure that wouldn't happen again. And yeah, so I will probably have to replace some rides later on in the next episode, but for now I'm okay. And the coaster's finished. While I was rambling, the coaster got done, and basically I'm keeping with sort of a theme here, scenery wise. It's just kind of a sandy, kind of tan beige brick theme. Yeah, so that's the theme, and I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say about it. The one thing that I've become very spoiled with Open RCT2. Like I said, I've said it before, but it's really difficult to build really good looking structures when you don't have the ability to disable the clearance checks like you do in the Open RCT version of the game. It's kind of just one of those things that makes life a lot easier when you're just strictly building scenery. And it doesn't affect any other part of the game, really. It's just that. But yeah. So I'm slowly starting to get back because I used to play RCT Classic all the time before I found out about the mod. So I'm starting to get back into trying to remember how to build appropriately and all of that stuff. So that's the goal here. And eventually I might do a build with custom scenery, because I actually have some custom scenery loaded into Classic. If you have a PC, if you're on an actual computer, you can actually just download custom scenery and have it available in Classic, which I didn't know until I accidentally did it. So I actually have a workbench that's, you know, if you get it in the object selection menu and you make a custom scenario, you can use custom scenery in the game. So I might end up doing that. Anyway, let's I guess the last thing is just to kind of, so that's pretty much what my coaster ended up looking like. I just kind of added a few details here and there. And I'm sticking with this design for the most part, this orange roof tile and the sand colored walls and all of that. Just because it kind of fits the theme of this scenario. It looks appropriate in this setting with all the sand and the dunes and all that stuff. And towards the end of this series, I'll probably start, you know, like once I have the guests and once I have all the stuff done, I will end up doing, adding in some terrain and all that fun stuff. And the last, so here's where I changed my inspection times to every 10 minutes instead of 30 minutes. I had to kind of do that manually just to make sure that, just because I had like 4 rides break down all at once, so I wanted to make sure that hopefully wouldn't happen again. It's okay if rides break down, but if they all break down at once, that's kind of bad. So hopefully that will limit that. And then the next, and I just got to launch Free Fall, which actually I didn't realize until me recording the commentary here. And here it is, where I'm starting to have issues with my handyman and having vomit everywhere, which is a ongoing thing in this. It's like the one part of this game that I cannot seem to figure out, is that every scenario I do, I have vomit problems. And like I've tried to zone my handyman and have them patrol a small area, and hire more handymen and add in benches, be next to my roller coasters and next to my thrill rides, and that usually seems to limit it. It doesn't get rid of it completely, but I'll be honest, there's been a lot of times where I spend the last year of a scenario just cleaning up vomit just to make sure my park rating doesn't go down, because I have all the guests, and it's just, yeah. So now I wanted to build one more ride before I ended this episode, so I threw in a log flume. It's the only water ride I have, and I think it's probably good to have more ride types. And I'm trying to keep this park compact. I'm trying to keep everything in a small area. I don't want guests to get lost and all of that. So I went ahead and built this log flume inside the mountain, partially inside the mountain. And I try to make it small because I think you get an excitement bonus when it goes underground, so it should be exciting enough. And you get an excitement bonus when you use scenery. So hopefully I wanted to make it short so it would have a better throughput. You know, obviously log flumes are known for having terrible throughput. So I try to make it a little bit shorter than most log flumes. I call it Sandy Log because that's the best name I could come up with. And yeah. So yeah, that's the other part, is to kind of get that throughput down. I decrease the minimum waiting time just because, you know, it'll cycle through a little bit faster. I'm not sure what why that is an option in the first place. I don't know why the game is programmed for you. It'll allow everything to wait before it actually leaves the station. I'm sure there's like an actual reason that makes sense, but I just don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Whatever. But regardless, I went ahead and just made another building here. And this, I will be honest, when I started this episode, I was sort of not super happy about the way that this park looked. I was kind of like, it's not quite what I want. It doesn't look exactly the way that I want it to look. But now that I have more buildings in place and I have more attractions and more things happening, it is starting to come together. And you can see all these buildings in one place, and you can see them kind of mesh together. And I actually am starting to like the way this park looks a little bit more than I did before. Sorry, just dropped my mic. But yeah, and then this was pretty much the last thing I did. In the next episode, I'll just keep building a few more. I'm probably going to expand it out towards where that original coaster was, in that little hole, that dirt hole that's in the back of the park, that mine coaster. I'm going to expand it out there, hopefully, and hopefully build like maybe a train to kind of get to the rides out there. So I do want it to seem realistic, so I don't want this park to get too sprawled out and big. but I don't want it to be too compact because I do want it to look accurate. So the last thing I did here in this episode in particular was I just wanted to fix this. I don't know what happened with this particular ride. It looks terrible. I mean, the building, it looks terrible. The coaster looks fine. It's just that building is terrible. So I had to fix that. Otherwise, it would have driven me crazy. And that was pretty much all I had to do. I just kind of fixed that up, and you know, that's pretty much it for this episode. And then I went ahead and just fast forwarded because I didn't really have anything else to do. I fast forwarded till the end of the year. I literally had like a month left, so you know, that's all of 10 minutes. And here's where I zoned my handyman just to make sure that everything would, just to kind of, because I kept getting the message that I was having vomit problems. So just to kind of get rid of that problem, I went ahead and zoned my handyman, and then I lowered the price of that roller coaster. And that's pretty much it for this episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe for the next one. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time. Thanks.